Hello, everyone. Welcome to this live stream. I am just getting comfortable here in my seat. And we have the wonderful Jerome Shaw joining us. Hello, Jerome. Let's see if I can invite you right here. Oh, it's so wonderful to see you. So, for everyone that is joining us, now we are live with the incredible, the insatiable Jerome Shaw. Oh, how wonderful it is to see you, my friend. How are you? Welcome.
Thank you. Doing amazing. Doing amazing, Alice. Great to see you.
It's wonderful to see you too. Oh gosh, it's been a while, hasn't it, since we have gone live together like this. My goodness.
It's been a little bit. Yeah.
So, for those who are unfamiliar with Jerome, oh my goodness, and you know, I only mentioned your name a couple of days ago at the end of Vipassana when I was sharing some inspiration that you shared with me, with some fellow participants in a Vipassana retreat that I just concluded. And this wonderful man who is here in front of us on this camera, on this split screen with me, I tell you what, the amount of inspiration and wisdom that just emits from this wonderful soul. If you're not already following his channel, please do follow his channel at Jerome. So that's Jerome Shaw. Yeah. Seriously, it's beautiful, it's poetic, and I'm so excited to be here with you. So
Wow.
thank you for suggesting this.
Wow. Thank you for that introduction. Oh my gosh. It's so hard. Like you make my cheeks hurt when I'm with you. Like I'm trying not to.
Are you blushing?
I just please. What did they say? She knows how to make a pro blush or something like that. What is that
That's
song?
Betty Davis eyes.
The Betty Davis eyes. The Betty Davis. Oh my gosh. See that never. It still hasn't left you. It still hasn't left you. 10 days of silence and you
10
still
days of
got
silence.
it.
10 days of silence, and it is still there. Like it might take 10 days of silence for that to ever diminish, and I think it would only grow. So who
Oh my
knows? Who knows?
God. So you said it only will expand. It will only grow.
I think so. It's just one of those wonderful songs of the soul that just comes out, and especially when I get to speak with you. So, you know, I think you magnify it. You're a magnifier in this world. You magnify the beauty.
Oh my gosh, you're a charmer. You're too kind. I'd love to hear just, from your experience because like you said, you feel like certain things will only grow, will only expand. Was there anything that diminished? Was there anything that diminished once you finished?
Yeah, so this is so I had the humble honor of participating in a Vipassana retreat with the IMC here in Headington in Wiltshire. And I did not know what to expect. And everyone that I shared, which was not many, everyone that I shared with that I was going somewhat sniggered a little bit, going, how are you going to remain silent for 10 days? And I went for many reasons, but one of them was to hopefully release what I felt was an attachment that I had, a behavioral attachment that many people have when we connect with other people, and then we feel really maybe overly connected. I don't know if you've ever experienced that, where you've felt like somewhat so focused externally rather than on yourself that you only see the other and you only see someone else and their well-being. And I am really moved to say that that is what has diminished. Was it feels like, and I must say I am only one day out of Vipassana, but that has instantly diminished in a certain calmness and wholeness, a wholesome wholeness has become just in 10 days. So that is such a big question, and we jump straight into it with you as always. You just go straight there with the big questions. But um,
Well, you told me, I mean, a while back you always told me like you're like no foreplay, just straight in there.
did I say that?
You said that. Those were your words. Those were your words. You said no
um,
foreplay. You
yeah,
snapped your fingers. You said
let's
straight in there.
let's go. Let's go. Yeah, we don't need to talk about the weather. Like, Aniche, Aniche, Aniche.
Anisha, changing. So wait, they
Changing,
did they have
changing.
the videos with Goenka with the discourse? Did they have those videos or did they have the
We
audio?
we had a disciple. We had a disciple,
Okay.
Roger. I think his surname might be Biscoff, but don't quote me on that. But we had a wonderful disciple, a fabulous teacher who led each day of this Vipassana retreat. And what I've come to learn about the style of this particular place that I went, which was the IMC, it is all around. It's called the International Meditation Center, and they are actually international. There are multiple centers in this trust all around the world. And what was really wonderful was this teacher. He delivered the discourses every morning, and then another teacher every evening. And there was quite a focus on the Anapana meditation, which I've come to realize, I've come to learn, isn't always as focused upon for so many days at certain other Vipassanas. So we did watch some videos to answer that question, because I will just go here, there, and everywhere with that. We did watch some videos, but we watched them at the very end, and each day it was all live. It was all teacher was right there, he was right there. Did you watch videos when you did yours? Like, how did tell me
Yeah.
about that.
So we did watch videos throughout. We watched videos in the evening. So every day we spent time with in front of the meditators. There were two disciples as well. There was a gentleman and a lady.
Mm,
So half of the room was all female, half of the room was all male, and it
yes.
was like 30 of us there. All in total, it was about 30 participants. But then when we left, it maybe around 27 or 26 of us finished, and a few of us left before it was done because for whatever reason it might have been too much, or they might have
Mm,
been, it was a lot. It was a lot for a lot of people.
yes.
So, I'm so curious because, even in your bio, Alice, it says the expanded. What?
I just know what you're gonna say. Oh gosh, sorry. I know
What?
what you're gonna say, so I'm laughing in anticipation. Even in your bio, Alice, it says.
Like it says, so in your bio, it's like the eternal student for love and divine union, but it talks about the expanded heart and the open
Yeah,
throat.
with an open throat chakra.
With an open throat, and you stress that open throat. The throat is
Hmm.
open, you know?
Yeah, the
So
throat is
to
the
have that,
throat is open, but that doesn't mean to say you have to exert sound.
right. So to have that, I mean, had you already gone this long without speaking in noble silence before? Had
Never.
this was a totally new experience?
Completely brand new.
Okay.
And I had no idea what to even expect, and I shared this with a friend today, is that I can completely understand the presumptions that one would have when you hear about a Vipassana retreat,
Mhm.
because I had those same presumptions. I was asking you, wasn't I? I was voice noting you like the day before, going, "Hey, Jerome, you've done this. How? Any words of wisdom, any advice to help me kind of prepare myself?" And you shared this incredible inspiration from your open throats. And I may be paraphrasing, so forgive me here, but you said something along the lines of Vipassana, where it is like mental surgery, but you are also the surgeon. Do not forget that. And you go deeper and deeper each day. And I was like, okay. So with hearing that, I was like, I can't possibly know what it's going to be like. And now this morning, I was speaking to a friend, and I say it's purely experiential. You have to experience it to really be able to even try to explain it. And even then, I don't think that you and I will be able to find the right words, because it is such a deep and profound experience. But no, I've never done noble silence before. My knowledge on Buddhism, because it's a Buddhist practice, my knowledge on Buddhism was fairly limited, you know. I know the basics, but even then I found out that that wasn't really accurate, you know. And it really makes you contemplate the words that you speak.
Yes.
Do you not find?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like the economy of words. That was one thing that I read a while back from Gandhi, his autobiography, and he talked about the economy of words. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
And it's, yeah. Go ahead.
I wonder when you experience, have you done many Vipassanas? Have you done just the one? Have you
Just that one
just
for
that
right
one?
now. They're trying to get me back. My friends are they're trying
I
to rein me
bet.
back in.
I
Yeah, yeah.
bet. I mean, I was saying to the wonderful volunteers and the staff there, I was like, gosh, this is something that was so profoundly moving and enjoyable, so nourishing and replenishing and fulfilling as well in a way that you can't ever really be fulfilled, but in one of those ways that you just kind of go, I'm bringing myself back to me in a way that I've never experienced before through any other modality or practice. I was like, I could do this every month if my calendar permits. I'm like, I want it like back. I'm coming back. You know. They're doing a trip in November to Burma, and I'm like, can I go to that? I want to do the Vipassana in Burma. That'd be amazing.
Mm.
But I was gonna ask you, when you did your Vipassana, did they stipulate about eye contact or not?
So we didn't. So when we passed each other, because we did this in Lava Hot Springs, in Idaho.
Right.
So it was in Lava Hot Springs, and it was snowing. So it was freezing every day. It was freezing cold. I didn't know it was gonna be like that, so I was still in my sandals. And afterwards, they called me Black Jesus, because they were like, "Yo, this guy, whoever this guy was that was out there in the snow, walking around with no socks."
Walking on frozen water.
Yeah, like who is this guy, you know? And it's funny because you really get to know people even in silence.
Yes.
Even in silence, like, you know, in the dormitory, we were sleeping next to, you know, we had a roommate, and you know, they had their space, you had your space, but even though you didn't exchange any pleasantries, even though you didn't exchange any words for that whole 10 days, afterwards you felt like you felt like you knew them.
Yeah, you knew them. Yeah,
Yeah.
you'd bonded. You'd known them in a way that you. Oh gosh, yes, yes. How was it when you started speaking at the end? Did you speak with your roommate?
We started laughing. Everyone just started laughing. It was like once we came
Actually, I saw
aside,
that video. I saw that video that you put out there. You were
yeah,
all just so exuberant with joy.
we just bust out laughing. Once they, you know, showed us the sign that noble silence had been lifted, everyone just started cracking up. Like it was just a culmination and just a whole buildup of everything, you know, that we just finally like released and just let it all go. And it was so, yeah, it was so liberating, you know, to hear people's voices again, to see people's smiles. Because like you were asking about, you know, well, when we would walk by each other on the road, you know, down to the meditation hall, to the dormitory, to the dining hall, like different places, we weren't really making eye contact, you know, because there was no contact. So, well, first of all, they they stressed there was no talking,
Mhm.
no entertainment, no TV, no cell phone. They took our cell phones.
Yes, yes, they took out the
No,
cell phone. Yeah.
no journaling, no writing, no, you know, there was nothing to distract you
Mm.
from yourself. So it was just you and you and you.
Yeah.
You know, there was
Yes.
no misconduct. So even though there were other people around, it was a solitary it was a journey of you and
Like you
you know?
were saying in one of your shows, Damn, there I
Damn!
am.
Yes. Yeah, every day it's like, damn. Everywhere I go, there I am. There
I
was
love how
no
I can
there was
always
no
surprise you
escape.
here.
Yeah, there was no escape. You could not run away. And I think it was
Mm,
you tell me what day it was for you, but I think it was day 3 or day 4
yeah.
that it started to set in, and I realized, okay, there's no running away.
Mm,
Like there's no escape.
yeah.
For anybody who doesn't know what we're talking about, like to sit in silence, like to sit in meditation for like 10 hours a day for 10 days.
Yeah.
For 10 days, for
Mm.
hours. You're just sitting
Literally
there.
hours.
Yeah.
I wonder, like, do I have my schedule here from the
Okay, go
retreat?
ahead.
Is it
Yeah.
here? I don't have it with me, but I can recount it right
Yeah.
now. We would awake at 4
Mhm.
a.m. and 4:30 to 5:30, that is the first meditation.
Right.
And we would all, like you were saying, you'd all go to the meditation hall.
Mhm.
The men and the women were separate,
Right.
of course. So we had about 30 women in the female side, and we had about 20 men, I would estimate, maybe 25 on the male side. So 4:30 to 5:30 in the morning was personal meditation. So that's no teachers there. You're in your own practice. After about halfway through the week, the first week, some people started to take that outside, or they started to do their meditation in their room, in their dorm. But for the most part, we were all there. And then 5:30 to 6:30, we had the first discourse. 6:30 through 8, we had rest time and breakfast for those that were taking breakfast. I would use that opportunity to take a nap. 8 a.m. until 9 a.m. was a group meditation. So that was led by the teacher and guided and held by the teacher disciple. And then a short break for 30 minutes. And then 9:30 through 11, we had interviews and instruction. So what that means is 5 at a time were being called up to sit in front of the teacher, and this was the one time that you'd get to speak. So every student, if they chose to, could share with the teacher how it was going and ask any questions. But for the rest of the hour and a half, you're meditating, so still that's more meditation. Then we would have 11 until 1 for lunch. Once again, I took that opportunity. I took the longer breaks for an opportunity to nap if I needed to. Because I think as well for me, it was getting used to there being so much time and space in the day. It was like 3 days in one.
Yeah.
It was amazing. It
Yeah.
was amazing. 1 until 2, 1 until 2, 2 until 3. 1 until 2, I think it was personal meditation again, and then 2 until 3 group meditation, a short break, and then once again interviews and instructions only for those that it was the first time.
Right.
So 3:30 until 5, everyone was meditating, and then those that were there for the first time got a second opportunity to speak for a couple of minutes, literally a couple of minutes,
Yeah.
as you asked a question to the teacher and heard his response. Then an hour refreshment break. So those that had returned to do Vipassana for a second or third or however many times would not take anything there, because one of the precepts for those that were returning were to not take any nourishment after noon, you know. And then 6 until 7 was second discourse. So that's another meditation while we're receiving the teachings of Buddha. And then a half an hour break before the final group meditation. And then that takes us to 8:30, rest, sleep. Everyone will spark
Yeah.
out, 7 hours sleep before we're up again for the next meditation. And we start it all again for 10 days.
Jesus.
It's,
Jesus.
it's,
You have a great memory. Great memory,
it was
Alice. Like,
only yesterday, Jerome.
yeah, but still, like, it's all there. It's all there. It just shows you, like, just such, that you're able to, that you were able to recount all of that, all of that structure, all of that, just everything, just boom, 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 boom,
Yeah.
every single day, the same,
It,
but
it is.
different.
It was great though, but different, the same but different. But it was such a great, it was such a nourishing structure. Like I found maybe just after the first day, because the first couple of days everyone's adjusting. No one in the regular world tends to be in bed at 9 p.m., right? Or 8:30, 9 p.m. It's uncommon, to say the least.
Right.
Definitely uncommon to be awake at 4, unless you're striving for an alarm clock to get to work for something.
Mhm.
So to wake up at that time and then to get to meditate before the sun was rising, and it was so beautiful because, oh, I would do my personal meditation, and then for the last 10 minutes, I'd go outside and I'd see the sunrise
Mm.
before the morning discourse.
Beautiful.
And what a gift. And like people started to do that, and it was just so magnificent to observe, you know? It was so wonderful. What was yours like? Do you remember?
Yeah, you know, it was beautiful, like the small moments that you had with yourself, like you said, seeing the sunrise. Or I remember there were moments where when I was alone and I was watching or just waiting nearby the door for them to ring the bell, because they would ring this
Yeah,
huge
the
bell,
gong.
yeah, for the next meditation.
Yeah.
Whenever I was waiting, there would be times where I would look out and I could see like the particles in the air. There were times where I could see it, and I was like, "Oh my gosh!" And I couldn't talk about it. I couldn't tell anybody what I was witnessing, but I was witnessing the prana, in the air. Yeah,
Yes. And for someone such as yourself as well, who is so well versed in prana, if I may say so, and it's beautiful to be able to see and see how the atoms encapsulate life force just in the air, glistening like teardrops from the heavens. It's just like they're just it's just exploding with this love through the air, and I may be like over articulating a little bit what we're trying to describe here, but when you are releasing the need to speak out loud, and you are observing the inner workings of self, all of your senses seem to heighten. And that was one of the things that my friends at the course, they were saying afterwards. They were like, my sense of taste was just huge. Like everything danced in my mouth when, like, for everyone that was eating something, they were like, the flavors were just bigger than they could have even anticipated, and they could smell better and hear better. And so for you to see all that, that's wonderful to hear,
yeah.
you
It's
know.
very, you know, everything was heightened. Everything really gets. It's like somebody turns on that TV setting where the brightness or the hue or the color, like they just turn that dial up, and
Mm-hmm.
everything just has a brighter exposure. It's just like a colorful, just very vibrant, and it brought that out of everything.
Mm.
And especially when we left, I mean, for me,
Oh,
when we left, everything was a lot louder, a lot more visually stimulating, a lot more auditorially stimulating, a lot more, you saw certain things that your subconscious was filtering out before. Now your
yes.
your conscious mind is seeing everything that you were avoiding, or that you were kind of deleting, that was
Mm-hmm.
non-essential for the mind at the
Like
time. Now it's
empty the
like,
cache.
yeah, yeah.
Too many cookies.
Yeah, now all the cookies are off the cookie, yeah. Like,
Jerome, stick the lid off the cookie jar.
you took them off. You popped it off. And now all the cookies are everywhere. Everywhere you, everywhere you look, there's a cookie. So
Oh my goodness.
yeah, I'm interested because you know, for different people, it's like you said, it's very individual. The experience is
Yes.
going to be different for everyone.
Yes.
So for you, what would you say was one of the most challenging aspects of it? One of
Mm.
the, and maybe you can recall like the day that, something came up for you and you really had to not like power through it, but you really had to like,
Mm.
it was a long day. Like you said, you gave
Yeah.
a perfect description, Alice. You said some days felt like three in one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Especially if you napped in the between like I did. um, I think, you know what, I think you're right. It was probably around day 3 or day 4.
Okay.
Let's see. There was a Tuesday. I was a little bit later on though. Okay. I had a couple of moments um, where it was one of those where I really had to permit myself grace,
Okay.
you know, for the human
Yeah.
experience. And it's fascinating because they ask for anyone that already has any type of spiritual practice, whether that's meditation, yoga, doesn't matter, qigong, doesn't matter. Anyone that has any previous practice, they must be willing to release everything that they have ever known
Hmm.
and come as a blank canvas and only follow the instruction. And so I found myself a couple of days in realizing with the first meditation technique that, goodness, you know, I teach
Hmm.
meditation. You know, I offer meditation, I offer visualizations, I offer meditations. I do many, many of these things as service, and yet at the same time, I've never truly meditated.
Mm.
That was a massive shifting moment because I was like, wow, we're a world full of people that say they meditate every day, myself included. And I realize in my meditation, I'm not actually meditating.
Mm.
Not now, having gone to a Vipassana and experiencing what it is to truly focus the mind. And this is what I found. Okay, I wonder for you as well. But this is what I found is after how to say I I connect very telepathically with people, thought to thought, heart to heart. I feel, I hear, I speak telepathically with a few people. And so one of my ponderings before I arrived was, how am I going to sit in a room full of 30 people that may have come to a Vipassana to release some emotional baggage, to let go of some things, to move through some stuff? How? And I get there and I realize the first meditation after learning the Anapana technique, I was like, I close my eyes and I feel like it is just me in that room.
Mm.
And that was a massive moment. But then it brought rise to aspects of my identity, my ego, my mind that somewhat struggled with. It got really chatty. There was a particular like stream of imagery and almost like daydream or fantasy or whatever you want to call it that kept wanting to percolate the mind
Hmm.
and distract from the breath and the object of breath and the touch of the breath.
Right.
And day 3 was probably the most challenging,
Mm.
where I struggled to bring back from the daydream, that I struggled to bring it back to the touch of the breath, even though we had all the
Yeah.
tools. And so in that moment, I took myself out of the room and I just allowed myself a little bit of grace and tried
Yes.
again. But that's why, you know, people say 10 meditations, 9 meditations, 10 hours a day. That seems really intense, but it was so healing
Hmm.
because it brought these parts of my mind that I had no conscious awareness that were floating away, creating daydreams and visualizations and even connections with others. It brought it right back in. And I can't even find words to explain what that feels like. It is only experiential, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Thank you for
What?
sharing that.
Oh, you're
Thank you for
welcome.
sharing that, Alice, because as you recount that, like I had similar times where, I did want to go into fairy tale land,
Yeah,
and it's like my mind just there were so many things that are in there, like it's all in there,
it's all in there.
it's all in there. So like all the images, the movies, the videos, the times that we stared at screens, the times that or that we might had, certain traumatic experiences that we
Yes.
maybe pushed down or suppressed or really put all the way down in our psyche. Things would bubble up and make their way to the
Yeah.
surface. So when you say that, as a teacher of meditation, as a guide of meditation, as someone who utilizes these vibrations, and now saying that you felt like you never truly meditated,
Yeah.
what do you feel like true meditation is now coming out of this? What is it?
from meditation. It's that single point of focus, right? It's total, complete immersion in that one point. But even still being asked that question, my answer seems insufficient. It seems inadequate because I feel like it's not something I can answer yet because I don't even know.
Okay.
I feel like if I was to even attempt to answer it, it would be a false truth or a half answer. And this is why, and I have the utmost respect for all levels of teachers. And once again, I fall in that category. And yet at the same time, you can only really be a leader or a teacher if you're the eternal student.
Wow.
And recognize that you will never really fully know because in order to speak it, because it is only experiential. For me, in my interpretation is that it's an experiential thing. So I can't even describe what meditation is at this point because I'm going, if my mind is not present within my body, then it's not at the seat of my soul. It's not at the point of my creational abilities. It's subject to condition and influence and volatility and instability. So until I can practice continually enough, I think that's the whole human experience. But that isn't that what awakening truly is according to Buddhist teaching, right?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
What about you? I would be curious to hear how you would
Yeah.
like to express that.
Yeah, that is profound. What you're saying is profound, and I agree, like, with the, even as you were speaking, Alice, you know, Catherine Glenn is here, and she said, Ikagra, one-pointed mind, one-pointed mind, Ekagra. So, that single pointedness, that focus that we're not used to having. I know I wasn't used to having.
Yeah.
Definitely not. It kind of went against my natural way of being for a long time. I wasn't used to being the one to focus. Now, I also played into the story that I couldn't focus. That was a narrative that I played into
Ooh.
when they kind of, with all the labels that were on the table, not becoming so willing and able, right? With
There's that poet again. I love it.
they're like, no, you have this, so you can't focus. You have this, so
Yes.
you won't notice. You have this, so this, you know?
Yes. All
So,
the labels we give ourselves to excuse ourselves from whatever it is to evade.
right, right. So it's like the labels were kind of, it's like you were taking off the Band-Aid, to heal the wounds, like taking it off, like it's okay. You can take it off. It's good, and sometimes it hurts when we rip off that Band-Aid. It's like you rip it off and but it needs to be done. You got to trust that your body can do what it needs to do, what it's able to do.
Yeah. Oh, that's a beautiful way of putting it. Because, you know, so for those that are a little bit new to Jerome, and I'm going to share this is the first time he's heard me say this, but this wonderful man has taught me so much about trusting the body and knowing what the body is actually capable of. And that's just in some of his choices in life and observing and watching and being inspired by him. And to hear you say that, Jerome, is very, very moving because it truly is. You are learning what you are capable of in the body. And you speak of the one-pointed mind, and on that focus. And it's funny because even in a lot of the meditations, all of the visualizations, I should say, in the visualizations that I offer, we always bring that attention to the heart. So here's me thinking on day one, I'm like, okay, well, how hard can it be to focus on three objects, the in-breath, the out-breath, and the touch of the breath? How hard can that be? Every meditation, I'm focusing intently upon my heart space, right? Me and everyone else that's listening to that visualization, that's what I do day in, day out. And then I'm like, oh my goodness, it's actually really a lot more challenging to focus on the touch of the breath without it moving, without it focusing. And I understand why I understand why they teach that, you know, because it's the one thing that whilst you're living in your body, is the one thing that will remain constant, you know. Everything else is subject to condition and change. But the touch of the breath, you're always going to be breathing whilst you're alive. And I found that really hard at times. And I was like, wow, I wasn't expecting that. I'm like, okay, well, you know, I can hear it, I can feel it really surprised
Mhm.
me. It was really humbling in a really beautiful way,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah,
We did
it's almost too
5 days
simple.
of that as
And
well.
it's almost too simple.
Yeah. Yes, it was. It literally three things, three
That's
objects.
that's it.
Breathe in, breathe out, the touch of the breath. How many days, how many days in your Vipassana was spent on solely focusing on Anapana meditation?
Yeah, so I believe like we did the first few days where it was like one section, and then slowly we started to separate and do like a body scan. We did
Yeah.
like a body scan where we went into different areas of the body and we would rest our awareness and our consciousness and just observe the sensations. And then there
Mm.
was a certain point where they called it aditana, and they called it
Oh.
the strong sitting. And that was basically aditana. They said you just don't move. And I think
Mm.
that was after day 3. So that was like day 4 all the way to the end. It was like, okay, now when you sit, you don't fidget, you don't,
Mm-hmm.
scratch, you don't itch, you don't, lift
You
up, you
don't
don't do
crack your
any,
back.
no, nothing, nothing. You just sit and you just sit. Like, because I mean, I don't know if there were people where you were that were layering and double deckering. Like, there were pillows and cushions and
There were
tables and
fortresses,
yeah, yeah,
absolute fortresses of like
yeah,
cushions and floor
yeah.
seats and
People,
blankets
they
and
were stacking it like pancakes,
yeah.
like one on top of the other. They were putting them on top of the other. And I noticed at a certain point, because the teachers, the disciples, the ones that had been there for so long and had volunteered their time to come assist us, they were on these thin little tiny little platform, like
Nothing.
not even like their skeleton was right there on the floor, and sometimes they're sitting for 2 hours,
Yeah.
not only for the beginners, they're sitting through the beginners and through the intermediate and
Yeah.
beyond. Like, they're sitting the whole
Wow.
time
Wow.
like statues, Buddha statues, like just aditana, and you look around, you see everybody, different people have these multi-layered, double-decker, triple, pillows, and they're just trying to get into the perfect position, fluffing the pillow, like let me just, just
Just like halfway through meditation, just like
yeah, yeah, like just trying to sit down perfectly and make sure everything is right before they embark on
uh,
this next meditation. And at a certain point, I realized when I witnessed them, like, it's it's not the pillows. That was one of my
yeah,
revelations. One
it's
of
not
my
the pillow.
revelations, Alice, was it's not the pillows,
Mm.
it's not the platform, it's the perception, it's the mind,
Yes. Yes.
it's the mind. Like, that's it. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah. Practicing gratitude 74 said they were trying to fortify their sit.
Yeah,
And I'm
yeah,
like, during, if I put the strength in at the start of the session, I will have the longevity to go the distance.
yeah. Yeah. So was it like that
Oh,
in your meditation hall as well?
oh, you bet. You know what? I was going to ask you this just before you started sharing that. I was like, everyone had pain come up, right? You know, you're focusing on the breath, you're focusing on the touch of the breath,
Yeah.
and then the body starts to speak. And um, I found it really fascinating. You know, after a couple of days, I had no pain. You know, because it's not normal for many people to sit in a position for such a long length of time, numerous times through the day. And so when I initially sat down, I was like on my hips and my knees and my shoulders and my back. You know, just like, oh, you know, and after a couple of days, I found that that had fully released and I was able to sit, but still I wanted to move.
Mm.
Now, our Vipassana was, I think, a little bit more relaxed than most other Vipassanas. And our teacher, he was sharing that, the great teacher that founded the IMC, he was saying, awakening is achievable for the layman, right? And if you translate directly what the Buddha was saying, it's, having the right efforts, not perfect, not this, that, and the other. So he said, he permitted us, if we really needed to move, really needed to, then move. But not unless you really needed to. So you're still holding that position where it was possible to do so. And you're pushing yourself in your mind. But as you said, it's all perception.
Yeah.
And that was really cool to observe, because people obviously, you're bringing parts of your mind back to yourself. You're lassoing them, you're lassoing them back to you that have just gone out here, there, and everywhere. And with that comes the body's expression of that reunion. And the body only knows how to speak in sensation, right? So people experience pain. Oh, I've got a real pain in my neck. Blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I found it really interesting because, yes, there was the cushions, the fortresses, I'm going to prop my knee up this way, this way. I found myself, I was like, that person's got like 6 cushions. I'm going to try that out. I'm going to see what that's all about. I'm like, oh, this is quite nice. Okay. And then I'm like, 2 meditations later, oh, no, I think I just prefer to sit on the flat one again.
Yeah. Oh,
Oh, it was really cool.
yeah.
Yeah, and at the very end, when we had our final group meditation and we offered merits and all of that, we were all welcomed into the one space. So still, the men and the women were segregated, but we were all in the one room, so that we could essentially do this together. So we were much closer together, and because of how the cushions were like lined up, someone had moved all the cushions that were near my spot, which was literally about 6 or so cushions, and they'd put them all there. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to sit on it like that. The people behind me won't be able to see the teacher. So I just got rid of them all, apart from the one. And one of the longest standing volunteers, she's been there decades, she was like, oh, Alice, you can have cushions, it's okay. And I'm like, no, it's fine, this person won't be able to see, because at this point we were allowed to speak as well. So it was literally the last couple of hours. I was like, no, it's okay, thank you though. She was like, but your knees. I'm like, my knees are really strong. They're good. My body's good. It was such a shift from when I arrived there, bodily, It even like, I'm sat on this chair right now and I'm going, okay, I've not done an Instagram live for ages. I'm trying to get like the right height here. I'm going, oh, I should have stood up. And I'm like, I can't really rearrange the camera now, so it's fine. And I'm sat on one of my feet and I'm going, oh, it's really numb. And I'm just going, Anicca,
Nature.
Anicca.
Changing.
It's fine.
Changing.
It's fine.
Yeah.
And then it's like, it's numb and then it's not numb. And it's numb and then it's not numb. And it's just fascinating, the observation level that you have of your own self, or your body. Yeah.
Beautiful analysis, like the beautiful breakdown, what you just said, Alice. I mean, it feels like when I left there, what you just now said, that realization, that revelation is one that I feel like so many people don't come to. I certainly hadn't been aware of that for so long in my life. Just that, we hear the cliche, like, this too shall pass.
Yes.
Nothing is permanent.
Oh, I got goosebumps hearing you say that.
Right? But it's like when you experience that on a just on a physical level, on a just the total realization of it on that level, where you realize it's just a sensation. It's gonna go away. It appeared, and eventually it's gonna disappear. Yeah. It came up, it's gonna fade away. And it's like that realization is so, we a lot of times I used to perpetuate the pain by trying to fight the pain.
Oh.
You know, by trying to, a mosquito bites you, you swat at the mosquito, and then now you're scratching it, and it's making it worse. It's making it worse. It's
And the
the
body's
wound,
like, oh, I've got his
right?
attention. Let's keep making it
Right?
itch.
It's festering. It's festering. It's making it worse. It's gonna prolong it. It's gonna be even worse. It might even get infected. If you keep continuing to scratch that itch, it's gonna keep going. So
Yeah.
when you just let it go, like there was a beautiful moment where we were in front of the teacher, and the women were with the lady, and we were with the gentleman. And he was such a cool guy, real tall guy,
Yeah.
silent, very, very silent, like a gentle giant.
Yes.
And
Our teacher was similar. I wonder if he was like the same one. He just teleported. Just like,
he went from here to there. He's everywhere, you
yeah.
know.
I mean, for real, he travels a lot and does a lot of this, so it wouldn't surprise me. He speaks like 10 languages as well.
I won't doubt it. I won't doubt
Oh,
it.
gosh.
So we were sitting in front of our teacher, and he was asking us like, hey, you know, he said, hey, Jerome, how are the sensations? And I was like, oh, it feels good. It feels blissful. Like one of the other guys to my left, he had just said, that it was excruciating. The pain was unbearable. It was almost to the point of like just agonizing, really just really pain in his body, and it just would not go away. It just kept on persisting. And so the teacher just kindly told him, he was like, okay, just, continue to be aware of that, but understand that, this will pass. It's just sensate, it's going to change, it's going to go away. And then he asked another person, like, hey, how are the sensations? And the guy had the total opposite. He was like, oh man, it's blissful, it's euphoric, it's amazing. I feel like I'm in heaven. This is just beautiful. Like, just everything is wonderful. And the teacher was like, he just nodded and he said, okay, just, just we want to just be aware that this will also change.
Yes. Yes, exactly. We had the same thing that it was so wonderful. There was a few really, I mean, everyone's a very, very
Yeah.
beautiful soul there, but there was one beautiful being who kept experiencing a lot of very like her mind and her body kept creating a lot of blissful energy
Right.
sensations, right? And from my perception, from my awareness, other practices would say, oh, this is this and this is this, and that's the experience that you're having. Going through Vipassana, I now know the mind is just creating a
Right.
distraction. So that was a really interesting thing, but it was the exact same thing every time she would bring up a blissful sensation, the teacher would be like, return to the touch of the breath. That is not the focus. Return to the touch of the breath. Or like, don't stay on it. Or if it was a Vipassana and the body scanning and everything like that, it's like, but do not stay there.
Yeah.
Move, move, move. Anicca, 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 changing, changing. Don't let it control you.
Yeah.
Release it. No attachment, changing. And it was like, oh, that's not what a lot of people want to hear. They seek the blissful, they seek the euphoric, they
Right.
seek that. And that was a major revelation for me, is how so many of us, and we are conditioned and programmed that way, of course. It's human nature. So there's no bearing to what I'm saying other than an observation of such. But how, as humans, we do want to seek and pursue the blissful, the euphoric, the high vibrational states, the 5D, some would call it, the whatever you want to call it. But really, you're seeking a condition and attaching to it. You're seeking a sensual pleasure and desire that inevitably will pass and will feed an aspect of self that is not going to serve you. It's going to cause chaos because you're not observing the anicca. You're not embracing the anicca. There was so many aha moments that I don't think I can actually really articulate. But I wonder if you had similar experiences with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a beautiful one, because just that right there, I mean, the tendency and the propensity of people to run towards pleasure
Yeah.
and run away from pain.
Yeah.
You know, we're trying to avoid this while also we're seeking this, we're avoiding this, we're escaping this, and we want more of this, right?
Yeah.
But it's like both of them are going to change, you
Yeah.
know? Both of them
Absolutely.
won't be the same. So it's like not trying to, you know, lose ourselves in one or the other, but just remaining in, yeah.
And what I love as well is like, and you know, Jerome, you know how my mind kind of wants to play connect the dots and things like that. What I really loved about kind of this practice was with all the exploration of other avenues, of other cultures, of other religions or spiritualities and practices, and various things that sometimes I even perpetuate, you know, and share. It's fascinating to see the similarities of what's being said, just spoken in a very different
Mm-hmm.
way. So even with saying, you know, don't chase the desire, don't, you know, don't pursue that people run towards it and they run away from pain or suffering or whatever it is, you know, they run away from the sensation that they don't want and say it's bad and go towards another one that feels better and says it's good. It's funny because like even if you listen to someone like you might listen to Abraham Hicks or Bashar, right? And they would say, okay, we'll follow your desire, but not to the point where you're attached to it. Like both of them would say you need to be unattached to have no resistance, you know? And when I think about Anicca and Yeshua or Jesus, for example, and the miraculous healings that seem evident from what's written and remembered about him, is that that's exactly what he will have done. Was Anicca, he would have known the instant change and known it so well that he was able to help another focus in that way onto that one pointedness. It's it was fascinating for me, even though I'm sure I'm sure the teachers would disagree perhaps, but it was fascinating for me, for my mind to kind of want to play that little song of a storyline, you know, to kind of go, there's a little bit of similarity here, maybe a little bit here, and
Yeah.
you know, exactly detach from the outcome. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
can you
that's
just
even.
sit with it? Can you just sit with yourself?
Yeah.
Can you? I don't know that anyone can. Like after that experience, I'm like, I don't know anyone can. Like, did you have emotion come up? I wonder
Yeah,
for
I
you.
mean, some of the greatest, I mean, some of the most profound people throughout history, you know, ancients, you know, they've been saying the
Yep.
same
Mm-hmm.
things, you know, like that one of the hardest things, the most difficult things for anyone to do is just to sit by themselves,
Yeah.
you know, just to be with themselves and
Mm.
like deeply go into themselves. Like, I mean, I think we live in a time period where we've never had more ways of escaping ourselves. Like,
Yes.
you know, people, we say that we're bored, but they say that, you know, boredom doesn't really exist. I mean, in this day and age, what is boredom? You don't have time to be bored. Like, you don't have you know what I'm saying? Like, there's so much to occupy the mind that there's no room for boredom. But
Mm-hmm.
what it also taught me is that boredom is beautiful. You know, like, you know, like let yourself be bored
Yeah.
because there's beauty in boredom. Like there's magic in the mundane.
Oh yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, there's so much there that we are not aware because we're always here or always there. You know, like we're everywhere. The mind is everywhere, so it's never right here, right here. And all of our fears, where are all of our fears? They're not right here.
Mm-mm.
They're not right
No.
here. The
No.
fear is in the future,
Yeah.
right? The depression is in the
Exactly.
past,
You
right?
bet. You bet.
Everything. Yeah.
And the
So,
boredom is in the scatteredness around it.
yeah.
When you can't be here, you know, you're only bored when your mind isn't present, you know.
Right.
Because
So,
isn't it though? If like people say they're bored, they're scrolling on their
yeah.
phone. You know, they're watching shorts and reels and shorts and reels and blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah.
Yeah.
You know,
And,
their mind isn't there.
and that's conditioning too. Just think
Mm.
about the words, like watching shorts and reels,
Yeah.
shorts and reels. Like we're
Yeah.
shortening our attention
Mm-hmm.
span. We're reeling it into their,
Yeah.
like, now this is our attention span. They say that, you know, a goldfish is at least, I don't know, 7 seconds. They say now the human being's like 6 seconds. You know? They
It's
say
so true.
even a goldfish
It's so true.
can't count.
It's so
Yeah,
true. And oh
yeah,
goodness. Oh, Nabia is here. Hello, darling. It's good to see you too. Do you see
yeah,
the comments, Jerome?
yeah, yeah. I can see her. I can see her. So Nabiha's, I mean, you know, Alice, Nabiha's been saying it for years.
Mm.
I'm sure she's frustrated with humanity. I'm sure she is frustrated. She's had it up to here. She's had it, you know. She's like, just sit down and just sit, you know,
Yeah.
like the
Sit and be.
like sit with yourself. She's been saying sit with yourself for
Hmm.
years. You know, that's a
Yep.
constant message from the first time I've known her, from our first conversation. That was the message, and it's never changed. It's
Yeah.
always the same, like sit with yourself,
Hmm.
you know? And so, you know, it's something that you don't realize that you have the remedy. You
Hmm.
know, the remedy has always been within you. And you realize it the more you continue, you
Yeah.
know?
Hey, do you have time to keep going for a little bit? Because I want to ask, I want to pick your brains and I want to discover some of your thoughts a little bit
Yeah,
more. I just want to
yeah.
be conscious and respectful of your time here.
Appreciate that. What is time? What is
What
time?
is,
I mean, like when you, one of the things during Vipassana, you get to know time a little bit differently, right? Time is a little bit different in those 10 days.
oh my goodness. You know, the only thing I've ever been able to compare that to was pranic feasting.
Okay,
Like, through pranic feasting, time, very different than two,
very different.
you know?
Yeah.
Very different. And oh my gosh, do you know, I loved how time would dance through Vipassana this week. You know, there'd be sometimes I'd sit down and it'd be an hour sitting and it'd feel like it'd only been 5 minutes and it was done. And I'm like, oh, I'm not ready for it to be done. And then there'd be some that were literally, once again, an hour, maybe even a little bit shorter if we took a little break in between. And I'm going, oh my goodness, is it not over
Yeah.
yet?
Yeah.
There's only so many times I can like fortify my breath here to bring my attention back and like rub my ears and wake myself up. Oh, and I'm like, whoa, I'm really resisting something at this point in time.
Yeah.
I'm really resisting something. But
So,
I wanted to ask you, I'm curious a little bit here because one of the things that the teachers shared with us is, they keep the meditation hall the same temperature. They keep it consistent. They keep the food there incredibly nourishing. The schedule is same. The food is vibrant, it's colorful, it's organic, it's vegetarian, it's wonderful. And, he was saying that it has to, in a Vipassana, you have to have these constants so that the only thing that is really changing, is your mind, is your experience in your mind in the meditation. And but for someone like yourself, because I know that I found this, I was so full from the meditation. I got there Friday evening and we had a group meditation. We learned the first technique. And then by the Saturday morning, oh, I was full on meditation. I was full on meditation. And I know this is perhaps something maybe we shouldn't quite talk about because it is expected that people eat. But if that is not normally your genetic makeup now, to consume solid or cooked foods, you know, I was just wondering how you found it in comparison to what your day-to-day life was with all the meditation, all the nourishment, because I felt so nourished. I was vibrant with energy, you know?
wow. Yeah. So you're saying, how did I feel the nourishment of the
Did you,
meditation
yeah, I
itself?
mean, did you, yeah, that, and did you even sleep?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I slept.
yeah.
I slept, you know, I slept and because even though I wasn't expending so much energy on the physical side,
Hmm.
so much as I was spending a lot of energy on my mental side. So
Yeah.
there was a lot of
Mm.
release. There was a lot of, you know, I won't say that it was always draining, but it wasn't always sustaining, you know, it didn't always feel like I was gaining. Sometimes it felt like this is just the
Mm.
remaining, you know?
Yeah.
So there were times where, you know, I had really deep dived into my mind. It took me back to my
Mm.
childhood.
Oh yeah, hey?
It
The
took me,
realizations.
Mhm.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh
It
God.
took me back to my childhood, like in many ways. One of the ways was, like you were saying, not just the realization, but the imagination. Like
Mm-hmm.
the imagination, where it is able to go and how it is able to flow like so effortlessly, how we can create worlds within worlds within worlds within worlds in here.
Mm-hmm.
That appeared to me again, and I hadn't felt that. I hadn't been on that wavelength
Mm-hmm.
for years. It had been years since I had ventured into that realm of infinite
Yeah.
possibility. You know, like Willy Wonka, like
I was just gonna
pure
say you like Willy Wonka.
pure imagination,
Yeah.
pure imagination, you
In a
know?
world of pure
Pure,
imagination.
pure.
Pure.
Like I was living out so many things. There were portions of time where I wasn't so connected with the breath, but I was off in so many different realms and realities. And then there were times where, I mean, it might have been a defense mechanism of my mind. I conjured up like I conjured up like a couch and uh
That
I
seems very physical as well. You did very well to conjure that.
I conjured up a room with a couch and a therapist in this room in my
Wow.
mind. And I started talking. I'm telling you, I don't know if I told anybody else this. I might have maybe told one person, but I conjured up a whole therapy session in my mind, and I
Wow.
was speaking to, you know, a familiar, like a person,
Mhm.
and I was telling them my deepest, darkest
Mhm.
secrets, like everything that I can't, like everything that I was not allowing myself to be vulnerable enough, to be open enough, to
Wow.
be to tell anybody else. I was telling myself in here, and it was just such a warm and welcoming space that I created for myself. And tears were coming down. I was getting so emotional, Alice.
I
Tears
believe
were
it.
coming down my eyes because I was admitting things that they were still there. They hadn't gone anywhere. They were just waiting for me to acknowledge them. Like they
Yes.
were just waiting on me to speak them. And I didn't speak them with my mouth. I spoke them, you know, with my consciousness. So
Mhm.
it was just so profound.
And
Yeah.
it doesn't necessarily need to be articulated like you say, right? You know, it needs to be acknowledged as a
Yeah.
truth that part of you has believed that's been maybe hidden or cast aside or what a wow. That's so. I can't even find a word. I can't even find an adjective to finish that sentence. I'm just like, yeah,
Yeah.
I had experiences like that. I didn't conjure the wonderful room to make it as comfortable as what yours sounds, but I know I had this major epiphany on day. It was only the second day.
Mm.
It was only the second day, but there was a stream of visions and thoughts that just polluted my mind from the first sitting and would return every sitting that and continue to do so for a few days. But it was on day two that I started to really ask myself, I'm going, okay, why do you keep bringing mind? Why are you bringing this up? You're clearly bringing it up for a reason. And I know, yes, there is distraction here, but there's also, presumably, you're seeking resolve. And I had a similar experience where it was like I was me, myself, and I, therapist and patient and mediator, going through timelines and repetitions and patterns that were trying to find completion and solace. And finally, when it was almost like the penny dropped as to why a certain behavior or a certain pattern kept repeating, that it was this complete white, blissful, pure, almost like what they describe samadhi to be like. I wouldn't want to be as arrogant to assume that's what it was, but almost like that moment happened and then it released on such a level that the charge went. So then when those because those thoughts continued to come back. That same kind of dynamic and experience continued to come back, but each time it happened, I was able to then return to my breath, no problem.
Yeah.
And then a different avenue would come off it, a different street, a different road, you know, and then I'd be like, okay, let's wrap this up, let's tie up that loose end, and then, zoom, you know, it, like you said to me before I went, it's like surgery for the mind, you know, really beautiful way of expressing that.
Wow.
Ah,
Wow. I mean, I'm so glad that it takes courage.
yeah.
It takes courage, you know, to allow yourself to go through that and
Mm.
to grow through that. Like to allow yourself to release, to surrender and
Yeah.
to let go. Because there's at a certain point you realize there's nothing to hold on to.
No.
No one's coming to save you.
No one's coming to save you. Absolutely not.
You're in it, you know? You're in it, like till the
Yeah, stop
finish.
seeking.
Yeah,
Yeah, stop seeking it.
yeah. It's like this could you like we could do this the easy way or the hard way. Yeah.
And yet the irony is that the easy way is the hard way.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. You know, that's the big irony. That's the that's the catch
Oh,
22. You know. Yeah. Yeah.
oh, yeah. How was it for you being silent? So what I want to share is what was really interesting, and I think we started by talking about this a little bit earlier. One of the women in the room with me, so in the room that I was in, there was 4 beds, only 3 of them were occupied, an adjoining room with 2 beds, um, and then, you know, a lot of other rooms and beautiful, beautiful, beautiful grounds. And one of the girls had already done Vipassana a couple of months ago elsewhere. And she said, I hope it doesn't seem rude, but I am completely going to, I'm going to ignore you. I'm not going to make eye contact. When we go into noble silence, I'm not going to make eye contact with you because I found, well, no, she was saying that the last place they emphasized do not make eye contact with anyone. And they didn't emphasize that here. They just said, you know, you're not going to speak. You'll notice there's no radios, there's no that. But what was really interesting is as soon as as soon as certain people started making eye contact with each other, the ability to maintain noble silence for some was incredibly challenged, and some broke it. And I know for me that when I made eye contact with someone, it was almost as though, you know, if they were walking past, I was then kind of, part of me was conscious going, oh, if I don't look at them now, are they gonna get upset? They're gonna take it personally. You know, if I go and sit in the meditation room, is my mind gonna stay in the focus that I'm learning and attempting to attain, or is it now gonna jump over to that person to check how they're doing?
Right.
And so I wonder how you experienced that when you did yours, and were people making eye contact? And if so, did you find that there was a connection that wanted to try and establish whilst you were in the process of, you know, releasing and uncovering and going through the layers of your mind and everything that was coming up for you, and you know, or just no?
There was only I think there was only one person that I did make eye contact with occasionally, and it's
Yeah.
my brother Sunrise.
Oh,
So
sunrise.
you know Sunrise.
I've seen the name, I think, on Instagram. I've seen it somewhere.
Yeah,
I don't know him,
yeah,
but I know that I recognize it when you say it. I'm like, oh yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Okay.
So I went there with so it was
Tall
me.
guy.
Yeah, well, yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I mean
He's
you're
like
tall as well, to be
we're
fair.
we're
So.
almost like the same height. Yeah, we're kind of like right there. So it was me, it was Sunrise, Celeste,
Mm,
Tiber,
mm,
and Raj. So it was
mhm,
5 of us. We
mhm,
drove there in one vehicle from Utah, from Salt Lake City to Lava Hot Springs in Idaho.
mhm.
So it was all 5 of us there meditating with the rest of the people.
Right.
And but Sunrise and I were probably the only ones that I made contact with very occasionally, and it was only like maybe right after the meditation when he got up and he
Yeah.
stretched and he like stretched, he would look over at me and he would give a quick smile, like a quick smile, like like we made it, and
It's like one done.
yeah, like this is the thing, because afterwards it was like we knew, him and I, we know after going through that, like we're no longer friends.
Yeah.
Like we're brothers.
Yeah.
Like we're family now. After
Yeah, it's
going,
hard to describe, isn't it though? It's like it's
we
it's
can't
hard to
describe.
describe to someone. Like it once again it's experiential,
We
you
just
know?
knew it.
Like I care about these people.
Yeah. It was like we gave each other a look, and through that look, you realize like once we make it out of this, we family.
Yeah.
Like we
Yeah, there's no
brothers. Like
escaping that now.
we are locked in. Like and I know
Hmm.
that like
You know?
we
Do you know?
yeah,
Oh.
so that was the only time, but everybody else, they kind of either looked down to the side or just kind of passed by and just they honored that noble silence,
Yeah.
they honored the no contact, they honored just giving you your chi space, giving you
Yeah.
your energy room. Yeah.
Yeah. Your energy room. I like that.
Mhm.
I like that. When was noble silence lifted for you?
It was lifted I believe right after day 10, or there was just a point, it was either like day 10 or 11, because we stayed there. The 11th day was when we left, I believe. Yeah,
Mm.
we
Yeah.
left on day 11.
Yeah.
So then it was, yeah, right then, the day before, it was lifted. And there was a sign right in front of the meditation hall when we left the meditation that told us noble silence has now been lifted.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
So
Oh,
that was our
nice.
signal
Okay.
that we could talk now, that we could talk.
Oh.
So after that, every time we were in the dining hall, it was just, you heard everybody, like everybody was letting it all out. Like they were
Yeah.
just, their whole experience. Yeah, we were all finally chatting and, what's your name? What's your name?
Yeah.
And like getting to know each other for the first time. We've been living with each other for 10 days and we didn't know
Yeah.
each other's name.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it was just a feeling like we've known each other, like
Mm.
we've grown to know each other on such an intimate level
Yeah.
that did not require language.
Mm-mm.
Like there's another language behind our language that we don't always tap into, that we don't realize is there. Like you said, you're telepathic,
Mm.
you know about this. So I can only imagine what it was like for that, for you on that level. Yeah.
Mhm. I found it really fascinating because when Noble Silence was lifted for us, it was depending on how you counted the days
Mhm.
because people arrived middle of the Friday.
Okay.
So I counted that as day zero. And I think they did at the center as well. They counted it as day zero for somewhere, some counted it as one. But the Noble Silence for us was lifted on the Sunday after the afternoon, I think it was the afternoon group meditation.
Mhm.
And I stayed in that room meditating and I was like, I don't know that I'm ready to be surrounded by so much voice, so much sound, so much expression, like outward
Right.
expression. Because that's the thing, isn't it? When you're not speaking, and I'm sure like maybe afterwards remind us to come back to what is noble about noble silence, because I feel like that's going to be an interesting thing to go into if time permits here. But it's I was like, I'm not ready at this point, at the end of this meditation, to walk outside where everyone is now laughing and, like you say, what's your name? What, hearing people's voices for the first time.
Yeah.
Like, that's the interesting thing as well. So, like, I'd see some of the men go to sit at the front in the interview. And of course, I'd hear a little bit of their voice because we were sat close together. The rooms were close together. If your hearing is your hearing, so I could somewhat hear people's voices, but then to hear it properly out
Yeah.
loud when they're speaking a little bit more with you know, with a little bit more gumption,
Hmm.
right? So me and my roommate, we stayed in the meditation hall along with a couple of seasoned meditators because we were all intermixed. So out of the 30 or so women, there was a woman at the front of the room. Oh my gosh, she moved me so much because she'd walk in, and in the meditation hall that we were in, the room that the women were in, there was nothing really in it other than the cushions. The room that the men were in, there was the photographs of the lady and the gentleman, the great teachers that had created the IMC, yeah, and they passed away a few years back. And this one woman, she'd moved me so much because every time she'd go to the doorway where you can see in and see the altar behind, and she'd bow to them, and she'd take a moment and she'd look at the photo of the woman, the great teacher, and then she'd walk a couple of steps, and where there was like a window in the wall, and she'd do the same thing, and I was like, wow, you know. But anyway, she'd been meditating for 50 years, doing that same thing at that same location. That was that anyway. Not the point of why I'm saying all this, but me and my roommate, we stayed for 10 more minutes in the room. And then when we exited, people had dispersed a little bit. And we walked straight out. We still continued our noble silence just for a little bit. And then we literally, like you and your brother, we just turned to each other and we smiled and we just started laughing. And she was like, hi. And I'm like, hi. And it's like, it's so cool to talk to you. And I'm like, I know. And she's like, I feel like I'm gonna meditate though for a bit longer and be in silence a bit more. I was like, me too. So even though we were made to speak, we were like, we don't want to speak just yet. It's like it's a lot. I don't want to drop into mindless, mindless communication.
Right.
Where someone went straight into, just talking about random things. I'm like, I have so much more feeling now behind the words
Right.
and the connection.
They
And it's like you say, you can't articulate what it's like to have spent 10 days without ever speaking to someone in a room and having that connection in the meditation space and in that room, and then to actually say hello.
Yeah.
I'm like, if you're ever near where I live, you come visit. I got a spare room. You can kick in here, come and visit. And she used to live right near where I lived previously.
Oh, wow.
So that was really funny. It was literally, she was like living in a town where I used to live a few years back. And I was like, well, you have the most beautiful pagoda there. Do you visit the pagoda in the town that you live? And she's like, sometimes. I'm like, I used to love that pagoda. It's fascinating how the universe brings people together as well.
It
Give
is.
it any room. And that girl was in the room that I was in, and we both lived in the same town.
Right.
It's a commonality.
Right.
Right.
No coincidence. Yeah.
Never.
It was meant.
Never.
It was meant to be. I definitely say, as well, I echo that, Alice, because my roommate, he was the real strong, silent type. He was a, guy, full head of hair, full beard, like mustache all the way down, very rugged, very outdoorsy. He was one of the only guys that, even though it was freezing cold outside, it was snowing, and like there was just, snow capped everywhere, he would be off, he would walk off into the distance and really just get out of Dodge in between the breaks, while some people were in their rooms and kind of huddled in the covers and kind of warming up for the next meditation. He was one of the guys that would just throw on a jacket and put on his hiking boots and just keep walking,
Nice.
And so
Wow.
I was next to this guy, and this Vipassana, this 10 days, it gave me so much compassion for the things that we don't know. Like, we really don't know what people around us are going through. No. Like you think but a lot of times you really don't know. Like, you can imagine, but you just don't know. So the reason why I say this is he had like a diary, or like a journal. Not like a journal. We weren't allowed journals. Like, we weren't allowed to have them. But he did have like a like a piece of paper. I think it was the paper that they gave us in the beginning that listed out the guidelines and the
Yes.
rules and the regulations,
Mm-hmm.
and fasting is prohibited and all of that stuff. That paper. So he used that paper, and every now and then I would come back to the room, and I would see him like put something up,
Yeah.
and then as the days went by, I saw him, and we kind of got to know each other, even though we weren't talking. And then
Yeah.
he figured, he's not going to tell anybody.
Mm-hmm.
So he would be writing, he would be scribbling in the
Yeah.
corner, and he would be writing, like furiously writing, like really, really just into it. And then we'd go to the next meditation, and we'd come back, and, he'd pull it out again, and he'd be writing, and then he'd put it back up. And then sometimes he would leave the notebook out, like he would leave the paper sitting there on the windowsill because he was by the
Yeah.
window.
Oh,
And
that's
curiosity.
trust. That's beautiful trust, though, isn't it? Wow.
Yeah. So now curiosity.
Talking about trust, let's jump to
Now
curiosity.
curiosity. So I would come in, right? Let's say
Yeah.
the book is right there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I come in,
Just in that cool swagger that you got.
right? I come in, I see it. I'd be like, okay, and then one time I come by and I'd be like, you know, I look at it, and so what I saw there, I won't say what was there,
Oh, sure.
but what I saw was someone that was going through things they could not talk about, and
Absolutely.
that he was asking himself so many questions, like, why am I like this? Why is life like this? Why can't things be different? Why can't I find joy? Why can't things be better? Like, why not? Why? There
Yeah.
were so many questions of why.
Mm.
And it completely changed the whole dynamic, because I completely empathized with him, and I realized that, this is somebody that, even though you see the exterior,
Yeah.
you see what's on the outside, there's a lot on the inside.
Yeah.
There's so much going on inside that he may never open up, and bring these things out. But at least for him, I feel that, I pray that he was able to find what he was looking for, because it seemed to me that so many people from all walks of life were coming to that Vipassana for very different reasons. Very,
Very different and very
very
specific.
different reasons.
Eh?
Like, not everybody was there for the same reason. Not everybody was there for nirvana or samadhi, or,
Mm-mm.
learning this or learning that, or releasing this or like, some people were there for very different reasons.
Yeah.
And it let me know that we just don't know.
Yeah.
We just don't know. We think that, we think, am I the only one that feels this way? And then some people think, oh, I thought everybody thought like that. You
Yeah.
know, you've heard those people that say, well, I thought that was, I thought everybody had that experience. I thought everybody, but it's not. It's not everybody's experience. And then you meet somebody that thinks no one can understand what I'm going through, but somebody might understand what you're going through.
Somebody might do.
Yeah. So
Oh, Jerome, I got goosebumps all over here. It's like you're moving me to tears right now. It's very, very moving. It's very touching. Because it is, it's true. They didn't stipulate if we could have a notebook or not. Like they said no reading material, nothing spiritual, nothing religious, nothing from any other practice.
yeah.
Obviously no fasting, none of that stuff. No yoga, no exercise, really that's vigorous and and but they didn't stipulate overly about a notebook or a journal, so I was journaling.
Okay.
And and so like when you're saying that, I completely get it because like there's many reasons that I went to Vipassana that I've wanted to do one for such a long time. But there was an emotional drive that got me there for this particular one. Like I booked it. I was like, I need to book it because it's going to help me heal this emotion and this experience that I'm having that I'm struggling to heal. I'm seeking everywhere within myself, outside of myself, to heal it, and I can't do it. So I know that I need to be in a space like Vipassana. And even though I didn't have the massive kind of like emotional like a lot of people were of course releasing many
Mm-hmm.
tears, and I feel like I didn't need to do that at this time around, but the revelations that occurred and I found what I was looking for at that Vipassana.
Mm-hmm.
But it was so interesting because I'm sure that that gentleman that you spoke of, I'm sure that he found what he was looking for, because it's the mental realizations, the the development of the experience, all of these things that are going to come from a continued practice and from what you've experienced there, that's going to develop and that's going to continue. But don't underestimate what 10 days, I'm sure even less, but what 10 days can do for someone that is seeking something from an emotional level.
Right. Right.
Vipassana and that Anapana, especially the both of those combined, for me, I was like, if if only if only the world knew the power of this container,
Mm.
there would never be struggle or strife
Wow.
again. You know,
Wow.
if only people knew. You
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. Yeah. Sunrise was saying, he said, if he was like, leader, if he was a leader in the world, like he would make it mandatory. He said he would make it,
Yeah.
he said for everyone,
Mm.
he said he would make it mandatory at least like once a year or something like that, for everybody to at least do a 10-day,
Mm.
at least
Yeah.
once in their life,
But
that,
then you have to be on your own volition, otherwise you
yeah,
won't be receptive, right?
yeah,
And that's the conundrum. I was like, why aren't they teaching this in school? And I'm like, because if you make people do something, they're not going to want to do it.
exactly, exactly. So yeah, yeah, but
Yeah,
the world would be completely different. It
it
would be a
would.
completely different world, yeah.
It would. Wow. Oh my goodness. I'm just tingling all over, you know. And before you say Anicca, I'm just like, I know, I'm just observing. I'm just
Nah, nah.
observing.
Yeah, yeah.
I
Oh,
think I took home the whole library as well. They had some books, because they'd authored some books. So the teachers there had authored some books and
mhm,
translated some and that, and you could purchase some of the books, and
mhm.
was from where the discourses were from as well, and some of the texts. And I was like, out of everything that I've ever done, this is the one thing so far that I literally want to take the whole library home to study, you
Mhm.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what I thought was beautiful as well, Alice,
Mm,
is
mm,
that, like you talked about the
yeah.
volunteers, there was all this
Yeah.
stuff about volunteer, volunteer.
Mm,
And one of the things that really touched me was the fact that it was free.
yeah.
It was free. Like it was free of charge. They said someone already paid for you. Like
Wow.
someone already paid for you. You're
Wow.
you're free. It's free.
Wow.
You know?
Wow.
So like, like everything that they receive, like the donations, the volunteers, the people
Yeah.
that serve, the people who have, been there before, the participant, like everything was free. And it
Yeah.
was given to you. And it was like you're getting all of this because someone else has already paved the way for
Yeah.
you. Someone that came before,
Yeah.
they've already
Oh, that's beautiful.
paid for your seat. Yeah. That
Absolutely.
was,
That's
yeah.
so profound. Wow. Oh. But it's true though. It's true. So one of the was it a participant or was it a friend afterwards? I don't quite recall. Um, someone someone had said, about yeah, no, they were saying about, I think, oh, it was one of the participants. It was someone that I shared a room with. And she was saying about the quality of the food and how, because they they didn't have a mandatory fee or anything like you say. It was free, right? No fee, it's free. But there was a recommended donation if you were able. And that was to cover the cost of the food each day. So there was like, for 10 days, of this much for whatever, but don't feel obliged if you can't, don't worry,
Okay.
you know? And it was one of those where afterwards, my roommate was like, do you think that's do you think it was the donations? Because a lot of people literally would donate beforehand at this particular place. They would donate something beforehand that the food was that good. And I'm like, I don't think it mattered. I think the donations literally were just for your own conviction. I don't think it had any impact on the food. It would have been like that whether you donated or whether you didn't. Because I know that when I was signing in, the lady before me who got there before me, she wasn't able to donate. Just technology, like not because she didn't want to, but just technology. So they'd already had all the food and everything like that. The woman that was signing her in, she was like, "That's okay. Well, don't stress about it. We want you to. This is your Vipassana experience. I'm not gonna chase you for anything like that. Don't worry about it. It's already paid for. Like you say, it's already paid for.
Yeah.
All is well."
Yeah.
But it's funny because by the end of it, I'm like, can I give you more money? Here, like have more. Let's pay for more places. Let's offer more in advance if you're able. Let's offer more. I'm like, here, just take it. And not from a prideful place or anything, but just because I'm like, I was in such awe of the humility and the generosity.
Mm-hmm.
I've never experienced generosity like that.
Yes. Yes. Speaking of generosity,
Yeah.
just while we're on that topic,
Yeah.
so I told you about the gentle giant, our
The
teacher.
gentle giant.
Yeah,
Yeah.
our teacher, he would come, he would come from the place wherever he was in his dorm, because the teachers had their own little house, and then we were in separate dormitories, but the teachers had their own little building that they were in. And so he would walk in, silently take off of his beanie, it was cold out there, and then he
Yeah,
would,
yeah.
sit on his meditation mat. And afterwards, after the meditation, he would go off somewhere up the hill, and I wouldn't know where he was going,
Yeah.
but one day I remember that I was looking out the window because there were a whole bunch of there were men there that were also working on construction. They were building a new Dhamma hall or a new meditation
Oh,
hall
yeah.
that was going to
Yeah.
be even bigger
Wow.
than the one that we were in. So the one that we were in was housing 30 of us. The one that they were building was going to house like maybe 100 people, like a big one. And so I would see these, men working the construction. They were doing different things during the day while we were going down to the hall and meditating and up to the dormitory to take naps. One time, Alice, I looked out the window, right? I looked out the window and I see this guy up on the roof of the new Dhamma hall.
Yeah.
And he's like scraping snow. This guy is scraping ice and snow like
Yeah.
off of the roof, right? And he's on the roof like, he could easily slide off of that thing. It could be, it could be bad because he's up there, right? But he's just on this thing and he's like just shoveling snow off of the rooftop. And then I took a double take and I was like, wait a minute, do I know him? He looked familiar. Like for some reason, I don't know what it was, but I was like, I don't think I know. I can't. What? And I looked closer, and my eyes lit up. I said, "Oh my God, that's our meditation teacher," and he's standing right there. He's shoveling snow off the roof in
In
between
between.
meditations.
Yes. Yep. You know what? It must be a Buddhist thing. I tell you, I saw our meditation teacher, I saw our teacher with muddy knees and muddy pants because he was holding a wheelbarrow helping the gardeners helping the volunteers who were taking care of the garden
Yeah.
in the half an hour break, in the hour or half an hour break or whatever between sittings.
Yeah.
And then other times he was coming out of the pagoda having either meditated or led a meditation for some of the volunteers and for the staff there. And he was nonstop, and it made me laugh this one day when someone was saying about not getting to sleep. They didn't get to sleep at 9 o'clock. They were awake till whatever time, and and just like so nonchalantly, he was just like, "I need you. Sleep is overrated." It's like, oh, imagine he's like he's like 10 hours with us, plus the online course, plus the
Yeah.
volunteers in the pagoda meditating, doing his own stuff and leading them, plus gardening. And occasionally you might see him with a cup of coffee
Yeah.
or a cup of tea or whatever.
Funny.
And I'm just going, this, like, and we got the honor of going into the pagoda because it's too small to have the students in,
Hmm.
the amount of students that do the course. And apparently they used to let the students in there. They used to have it in the pagoda.
Yeah.
But we got the honor of going in and actually having a little look, and it's so beautiful in there. It's so beautiful.
Mm.
And we see each of the cells, right? That's what they call the little rooms, that they call them the little cells. And
Hmm.
you'd have like maybe 5 people or 8 people meditating in there,
Hmm.
in each one. And then we saw the teachers, right? We saw the disciples' chamber, and we were like, we knew it was his because it had all these books. It is a simple cushion, all these books, because of course he's always giving discourses. He's
Yeah.
translated from Burmese or from Pali or whatever the language into English as well. He's got, I'm like, where does he find the time?
Right.
And then he's taking questions privately from us when we catch him in the courtyard. And I'm like, this guy has figured out that time doesn't exist, or he's figured out how to really expand. He blows it up like a balloon and he's going, look at all this extra time I
Yeah.
got now. Like, there is no way anyone else would
Yeah.
do that. Generosity is,
Yeah. That self-sacrifice, you know? Yeah.
yeah, for the love of the students and the love of their awakening as well. It's it was so beautiful.
Yeah.
So much patience.
Mm. And that actually it speaks even louder, you know,
Mm.
because I don't know if everybody else seen him up there. Like
Yeah.
that's not something that
Oh,
he wouldn't brag about it. He wouldn't
no
boast
one would
about it.
know,
No
right?
one
Yeah.
else could know that, this guy is up there doing so. Like you said, like these selfless acts, these acts of self-sacrifice, of
Yeah.
service, of purpose, of just meaningful, just for the other
Yeah.
person. It's not even something like for them. It's not even a badge of honor. It's not like something that they want to wear and show proudly. It's just who they
It's
are.
it's just who they are.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's not a facade. It's not to earn
Right.
anything specific. They
Yeah.
genuinely want to be doing
Right.
that. I was just like, and each time the greeting as well, that when he would see, like, he'd leave you to it, like, as he was walking by. Most people obviously in their own contemplation, meditation, or whatever. But then if he felt or saw someone look up at him, he'd always stop and he'd be like, "Do you have a
Hmm.
question?" And it was so beautiful.
Hmm.
It was just the patience. I've never seen
Yeah.
it like that. Not from anyone proclaiming to be a teacher, and he would never call himself that, but that is what he is. You know, so
Yeah.
cool.
The eternal student.
The
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, the eternal student. Yeah, it's very, very cool to see.
Wow.
Mm.
Well, Alice, thank you so much for this. Thank you for this. This has been amazing. Time just flies by when I'm talking to you. We travel. Yeah.
We do travel. It's been a joy. It's been an honor, and I love connecting with you, Jerome. So thank you so much. Thank you for suggesting it.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful idea. I'm gonna see if you know whether we can download this from Instagram because I'll send it you because I think I'll get it up on YouTube as well. I think a few people I'd like to hear about this. For anyone that is watching that is in the States, where was your Vipassana retreat? If anyone wants to find it, where can they find it, or how do they find it?
I know that there's a maybe dhammasomething.org. There's a website
Mm.
that you can find. Maybe type in, Vipassana in Google. But I know
Yeah,
like there's a website, I think dhammasomething.org. But yeah, you can find different ones. And like you said, it's international, you know.
yeah,
It's international, so it's all over
everywhere.
the world. Yeah. They got meditation centers everywhere, and there are new ones that are popping up all the time.
Mhm.
Yeah,
All the time.
yeah.
The one that I was at was in Headington, if anyone's in the UK.
Okay.
Obviously, there's many of them, like Jerome just said,
Hmm.
but I went to the International Meditation Center, and that's, I think, is just the internationalmeditationcenter.org.
Cool.
Um,
Cool.
and that's in Headington. and they do Vipassana the third week of every month. So yeah, but if you're anywhere else around the world, I know the IMC that I went to, that is in different countries, and like Jerome said, just type in Vipassana, type in Dharma .org or whatever, you'll find somewhere if it's calling to you.
Yeah.
And if not, we're glad that you stay tuned and enjoy the story. Thank you for the beautiful comments and all the love.
Yes. All the love.
All the
All the
love.
love.
How did you do that? Did you see all the hearts come out your screen then? Did someone press a heart, or did you literally just do that and it just went boop and loads of hearts came out? That was just unreal timing.
Hey, congrats. Congrats on your
Oh,
10
look at
days.
that. Look at
Congrats.
congratulations. You got some magic going on with your screen, mister. Like, what is that? Like you okay, right, stop it.
Ah! Yeah. Till next time,
Until next
Anisha.
time.
Anisha.
Anisha. Changing. Bye,
Take
my love.
care.
Take care.